March 23rd, 2024. If it's 7 o'clock on Saturday morning, it's time for This Week in Waukesha on WAUK, 540 AM, 101.1 FM, The Shaw. I'm your host, Don Brown, and I am rejoined by one of our finest, Anastasia. Anya, welcome back.
Thank you so much. Glad to be back.
And we are coming to you live and local from the office of former Alderman Don Paul Brown here in the WAUK studios in downtown, right around the corner from Theodora Yeomans Park, where we are proud to honor our suffragette heritage here in the Shaw. And two comments on Theodora Yeomans. It is Women's History Month, so let's honor her. Take a moment. Teachers, parents, go on Google, go to the library, go to our wonderful library. Learn as much as you can about one of the great heroes of the women's suffragette movement right here in Waukesha. And really the essential reason why Wisconsin was the first state in the union to ratify the 19th Amendment. And second comment on that, let's honor her more by making your vote count in the upcoming election, April 2nd. We will have some info on all the different voting options you have so you can make a plan to rock the vote. So make your vote count. We have, as my good friend James Santel, whose show follows mine, an ambitious but achievable agenda. I have some wonderful young entrepreneurs as my guests today, Dr. Daytona Kribo and Colleen Kubiak. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
We've got a lot of news on community events, including how to be a bigger bunny. Last call for Waukesha Unlocked, Waffles for Wishes, City News, a chance to win a trip to Chula Vista in the Dells. And one big question, what does radio mean to you? So one more comment on the upcoming election is that the last two shows I had candidates for the school board. Last week it was incumbents Kelly Piazek and Anthony Zenobia. And in the previous week I had challengers Angelique Byrne and Stephanie Fidlin. And you can go to my podcast page on civicmedia.us, or else you can find it through waukradio.com. And be sure to check those shows out if you didn't hear them live. It's a great opportunity to get to know those candidates so you can make a more informed decision when you cast your vote on April 2nd. So make your vote count. And I know there may be a few other elections involved that affect us here locally in Waukesha, but of course that's the big one, our upcoming school board. So, and then some time-sensitive news. This morning we have at Carroll University from 10 to 12, and it could be a thing for you guys to take the kids. It's called Waffles for Wishes, and you can join Carroll University's Chi Omegas for a delicious $5 breakfast, including waffles, sausages, and more. In addition to breakfast, there will be raffles and silent auction baskets. That's at the Stackner Ballroom at Carroll University, 101 Northeast Avenue. And all profits will go towards Make-A-Wish Foundation to help a young boy named Mason's wish come true. Mason's a 13-year-old from Waukesha who's living with a respiratory disorder. He enjoys watching gaming videos, building with Legos, playing video games on the Nintendo Switch, going to amusement and water parks, seeing live theater, eating pancakes and Culver's cheeseburgers, and watching YouTube. He wishes to meet YouTuber celebrity Mystic 7. Do either of you know Mystic 7 is? I don't, but I imagine must be a big thing if young Mason wants to meet him.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of him. I have a lot of friends that watch Twitch. I assume Mystic is also on Twitch. It's just that live streaming kind of video game platform. So if he's into Nintendo, I assume that's probably where he found him.
Sounds great. And if you're catching us on the radio this morning, don't forget you can download the Civic Media app, and you can take This Week in Waukesha and all the great Civic Media programs with you wherever you go. It's just a great tool to have, especially for those of you who like to travel. We have over 20 stations in the state that are giving you the best in live local coverage. And, during the summertime, you can catch the Brewers in a lot of these areas where maybe the internet doesn't work so well, or cable TV doesn't work. For those who've got some great places up north, be sure to download the Civic Media app and take advantage of all the great programming that they have here. But speaking of great programming, I'm really excited about today's guest. And I guess we'll start with you, Daytona, since you reached out to us first. And for those of you who got a story to tell, Daytona reached us through our civicmedia.us, right? You sent a message saying, hey, I got a story to tell.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, so I'm new to the Waukesha area. So actually how I found you guys was I wanted to find out what this community is all about. Me and my wife bought a house here, last June. So what I loved about this show was it told us what was going on in the area. But I moved here from Madison, where I was at 2 years practicing in a private practice for chiropractic. Prior to that, I was down in Davenport for school for 7 years of schooling. And I actually got into that school because I really wanted to follow a passion to help people to heal in more natural ways to begin with. There's a time and place for every field of medicine, but chiropractic, I feel, is a great line of defense to just set those natural habits, let your body do its thing. And I got into that because I was honestly watching my dad go through a really hard sickness that took a toll on the whole family, not just himself. So if I can prevent anyone from going through that, that is worth it for me. So that's how I got to this point, in a quick summary.
Terrific. And Daytona was also helpful in recommending another young, we can call you an entrepreneur because you're in business yourself, another young entrepreneur. She's been self-employed since high school, I believe.
Yep.
And this is Colleen Kubiak, a Waukesha West graduate.
Yes.
And your business is called Colleen Kubiak Design, or Kubiak Design?
Yeah, so I started as Colleen Kubiak Media for a long time, and then recently made the switch to Kula Creative. Brought on a business partner who has really upped our game. We do social media content creation and social media management for a bunch of local businesses in Milwaukee, Waukesha, Mequon areas. Basically just making people look really good online and getting to brag about them, which is really fun because we work with some really amazing people and are lucky to do that. So he kind of brings on the video side. I do more photography, copywriting side, and it's a winning combo.
Oh, that's fantastic. And is there a specific category of client that you or a niche that you fill, or is it basically best in category?
Best in category. I mean, we do a lot in the wedding industry, floral, wedding boutiques, planners, stuff like that. But we're kind of dabbling in a little bit of everything, which keeps things exciting, keeps things fresh, and also keeps us learning every day, which I love.
Sure. Yeah, what are kind of the big, and I guess it shouldn't come to me as a surprise, I'm showing my age here, but I have some friends, husband and wife team, who've got a great business, very unique model, but it's a small business none the same. And so I can't imagine I don't know if they're hitting, over $1 million in sales, but they spend $24,000 a year on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And so there really is a demand, even for small businesses. It's like having to buy, whereas I think that money in the past would have gone towards print advertising. A lot of it's going now towards social media.
Definitely. I mean, the biggest thing right now, especially for Gen Z, Gen X, is to build that trust with the businesses you're spending money with. So showing up on social media, having your face on social media as a business person, you're winning before they're even deciding whether or not to purchase from you. You're building that relationship with them, building that trust, and then it's easy to put your credit card info in.
Nice. I like that. Now, Daytona, I have seen some of your clever social media on Instagram. And did colleen help with that? Or is that all you?
So all the filming and everything right now is myself, just because I am such a small business right now, startup.
You can't afford Colleen.
Exactly.
It's okay,
She's out of my price range. But she is a great resource for me to bounce ideas off of. And also, she has been wonderful with helping with some photography, but not actually the creation of putting it together and the ideas. It's more the B-roll backside of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, the video ideas is more just getting ideas scrolling and seeing what's kind of trending on my own and just seeing what works. At this point, it's all right, how many views did this one get? Were people responsive to it? But exactly like Colleen was saying, was trying to build the trust right now with these to show more than just my chiropractic side. I like to show my toddler on those videos or things that just kind of happen in my daily life that aren't necessarily related to fitness and chiropractic.
Interesting.
You have a good knack for it.
Sure. So, on a personal note, actually, no, let's put a pin in that. Okay. But I wanted, I guess we're gonna stop for a sec to talk about March Madness because it's happened, and apologies, regrets for all the Badger alumni, and I like the Badgers. That was a really tough loss, and they kind of drew the short straw on the. I mean, I don't care if they're 12 seed. If you only lose 3 games, I don't care what conference you're in. You're that's a tough. So congrats to James Madison, and congrats to Badgers in a great season. Congrats to Marquette on moving on. That was a tough one against Western Kentucky. And also, the biggest upset so far in the tournament is probably Oakland beating Kentucky. And here's the Wisconsin connection: is that star guard who had like 10 3-pointers, this Jack Golke, is from Pewaukee High School. Grew up in Pewaukee, and I just learned about that yesterday on Pat Kreitlow's show on Up North News, and I was blown away. I was telling people, as a Michigan State alumnus, Oakland's a tough team because they're from Detroit. They got a lot of these Detroit area kids, and that's some of the best high school basketball, and they're not intimidated by Kentucky, but neither is this kid from Pewaukee, who just, like, as his coach described, was unconscious. And if you've played basketball, when a coach describes that about you, or you just have that feeling that you can't miss, you let them go. So we'll look forward to seeing more. Another Pewaukee product too is that I'm going to murder his name, Milan Mamkulovic from Pewaukee. He's a freshman starting at Iowa State, and I know they won their first game, so be sure to look out for them. So March Madness does continue for Wisconsin, even though the Badgers are out. So, but no, I was going to ask Daytona. Colleen got here first, and she told me how you guys met. I want to hear your side of the story.
My side of the story. So I started dating one of her best friends from kindergarten, preschool, somewhere around there. And we'd been dating for a couple months, and then Sydney, my wife now, was like, "Hey, we're going to go paint my friend's bathroom today." I woke up and I was like, "Wait, we're doing what?" She's like, "Yeah, she's pregnant and she's not able to bend over and do all these things." I'm like, "All right, let's go." So we go start painting this bathroom. It's steaming hot because it is a tight bathroom in a summer day, sun baking in the window. So me and my wife are just bumping shoulders all day in there. And I had a few conversations with Colleen before and after. But since then, it's been a lot more actual social events rather than her just putting me to work.
That's great. We're going to hear more from Daytona Kribo, Dr. Daytona Kribo, and Colleen Kubiak, social media guru, on This Week in Waukesha. We're taking your calls, 414-441-2941. And don't forget, my guests next week will include leaders of the Waukesha South Marching Band. You're listening to This Week in Waukesha on WAUK 540 AM, 101.1 FM, The Shaw, and the Civic Media app. And we are live and local. I'm your host, Don Brown, joined by Anya on the board. And that is, of course, Waukesha's favorite son, if not one of their favorites, Les Paul, with Mary Ford, with The World is Waiting for the Sunrise. And the timing's been great last few weeks when we had sunshine, that the sun is popping its way out. It is a beautiful Saturday morning, and in spite of that snowfall we had yesterday, I had to get up super early to drop a timesheet off of the client in the city, and that was quite the harrowing ride there on 94. I didn't have the snow tires, and I was probably doing 30 the whole way. I was like, I finally made it. I said, you know what, I'm gonna take the side roads home, which I was able to do, and that was a lot better. So, and then it was gone before you knew it. I mean, even shoveling was pretty easy. It melted, so it did warm up. So hopefully those warmer temperatures will fight their way back, so we can go back to that early spring that we had. So, but I am joined by my guest, local small business owners, entrepreneurs, Dr. Daytona Kribo, chiropractor, and Colleen Kubiak of, is it Kula Design?
Kula Creative.
Kula Creative. So, yes, and a lot of success in social media, content creation, photography, videography. And so before we continue with them, we wanted to give a big thanks to everybody that's contributed to the Parade Memorial Fund for Greedy Park. The city's only $45,000 away from having the project fully funded. I got to participate in the community tile project a few weeks back at the Waukesha Public Library. That was fantastic. And so they're on track to have the project completed by the 3rd anniversary of the tragedy on November 21st, 2024. And one of the ways you can help support the fundraising event is by signing up for the VJS Community 5K on Saturday, May 4th. So do either of you run or walk?
Definitely walk. I used to run. We'll see how fast I can run now.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Lots of walking.
All right. So yeah, I can see if I used to be a runner, long distance runner, but yeah, now I'm more of a walker. So I'll see if I can. If there's no games that day, I'll see if I can join that event. So, but anyway, we were talking about how you guys met, and you've continued this friendship. Daytona had met one of Colleen's best friends, fell in love, got married.
Yep.
So, and each of you couples each have a child.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
there's a play friend.
Yeah, just a couple miles down the road. It's been wonderful.
Oh, it's so convenient. And our son, even if we bring up her daughter, he will talk about her for the next 20 minutes.
I love it. Oh, it's so cute when kids are become great friends at that early age.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but my youngest is almost 14, but she's still my baby. And just so many fond memories of of all the kids, but especially, like I said, when it's your oldest or your youngest, and it's just the one, that you have all that quality time without pulling kids apart,
Yeah,
breaking up
soaking
fights.
it up.
Yeah.
Soaking it up. Every
So-
age has been like, oh, this one's my favorite. No, this one's my favorite.
Sure,
So
sure.
it's just more and more fun.
Yeah, that's terrific. Well, we were talking offline about the work you're doing now as a mother, and your daughter gives you ideas for your work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just seeing the world through a little lady's eyes, a 1-year-old, it's just refreshing and exciting. Everything is a little more exciting. And so so much of my work is seeing things through a business owner's eyes, or looking at it through the perspective of, like, is this going to stop someone's scroll on social media? And that level of just like innocent joy really brings
Yeah.
something different to the art that we do.
Well, and that's it. It seems like a lot of the show-stopping social media are those things with little kids
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
do something impromptu or
Yeah.
so that's good. Yeah. So it's like you kind of have somebody on your staff, if you will.
Yeah. Get her on payroll, contribute to that college fund.
That's it. That's it. So terrific. Now, one thing what was unique you're talking about with Daytona is that you do house calls.
Mhm. Yeah,
and that's unique for a chiropractor, right?
Yeah, at least in this area. So I know in some other big cities, it's another big thing. But in today's age, everyone is so busy. We're work all day, go home, get the kids, go to sporting events, and come home.
Sure.
I was seeing a niche where people are like, I need care, but I just don't have time to come to the office. I'm like, perfect. I'll come to you. It's a easy setup. I just need like 10 feet of space, basically. And then we do full history exam and get you adjusted there.
Well, I think if you have some of your clients too, and they could be aging or just in so much physical pain, it's hard for them to get in a car or find someone to drive them.
Oh.
That's also got to be
Yeah,
a
for
unique
sure.
advantage.
Yeah, I mean, in school, we joked about the guy who gets dropped off in the back of a pickup truck because he can't move, right? So
Yeah.
what's better than you riding a pickup truck on a highway? Me just come to
Yeah.
you, right?
No potholes. So yeah, and I imagine, like I said, those stories are more real than what we're saying or joking about.
Oh, yeah. You'd be surprised some of the things that come into the office. And every time someone comes in, it's a checklist, going through mental gymnastics. Are they in the right place? Do I need to send them out? Can I take care of them? So, yeah.
Sure. Now, I remember because I had a client years ago that was a big promoter of the chiropractic. And again, I'm going back almost 20 years, and there was still this kind of stigma about the chiropractic practice, that some of these guys are quacks or they're not even, doctors of and they're still out there, right? Or is that less of a thing now?
It's definitely less of a thing. A lot more medical doctors have been accepting us, and I will get referrals of patients coming in saying, hey, my MD suggested chiropractic. I'm like, awesome. I am so thankful that we're coming to that realization that there is a part in the market for everyone. Like I said earlier, I truly believe there's a time and place for every form of medicine. I'm not a chiropractor that's going to tell you never take medication because truthfully, I'm type 1 diabetic. So I need some prescription medication to get me through my daily life.
Sure.
Yeah.
Interesting. So is it okay for me to,
Absolutely.
because Colleen revealed too that she is also type 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a big bonding moment for Daytona
Oh,
and
yeah.
I when
Nice
we
little
found out
support
we're
group. You're
both type 1. Yeah.
Yeah, see, I left that out of our connection store when we first met, just because
Sure.
I didn't want to rat you out on the air.
No, you're all good. I think we accidentally mixed up our devices at one point, and I was like, wait, you have one of these too?
Oh, yeah.
I love it. So, but it's like you're leading very normal lives if normal is such a thing.
Yeah,
but you're
absolutely.
living with it, and you're able to. That's great.
Yeah, technology's come a long ways to where you don't have to think about it nearly as much. Just let the AI of the algorithm do most of my corrections of blood sugar throughout the day, which is amazing.
Sure.
I'm jealous. I'm not quite at that point yet, but
Yeah.
we'll get there.
Yeah, you got to
Sure.
fight insurance a little bit to get there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I have during pregnancy you can't let it take over fully. So I'm back on the managing it a little more myself, but it's a battle that is worth fighting. So here we are.
Yeah. Well, and not only just, but you're living your best lives.
Absolutely, yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, you're living the dream, being a business for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So and developing a good clientele base and being able to live a quality life here in the Shaw.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have a client who found out recently that her son is type 1 diabetic, and she realized it because of some stuff I had posted on Instagram. Ended up taking him in.
Interesting. We're going to talk more about this as well as some strategies for the upcoming election. And don't forget, my guest next week will be someone from the Waukesha South Marching Band getting ready for the Badger Marching Band who's coming to visit on April 7th. And so much more to look forward to on this beautiful Saturday here in the Shaw. We're taking your calls, 414-441-2941.
Dear one, the world is waiting for the sunrise. Every little rosebud.
Hey, you're listening to This Week in Waukesha with your host, Don Brown, and Anya on the board here on this beautiful Saturday morning. Nice and sunny, thank heavens. And I'm joined by my guest, Dr. Daytona Crebo, and social media and design expert, Colleen Kubiak. And that was your Paul McCartney and Wings with Jet. I heard it, and I have to play that. It's just that one lifts you up there. And also because we are in the suffragette city, and at the beginning of the show, I was talking about how for Women's History Month, we really need to raise up the legacy of Theodore Yaumans, a graduate of Carroll, reporter for the Freeman, but the president of the women's suffrage movement, who had a huge role in Wisconsin being the first state in the Union to ratify the 19th Amendment, allowing women the right to vote. And so important with this upcoming election. And I want to read a message from my good friend, former constituent, but continues to be a good friend, Rabina Medina, who worked for the city clerk's office here in Waukesha for 20 years, took a lateral opportunity and then was in New Berlin and was promoted to the city clerk in New Berlin. And Rabina, put this on social media on LinkedIn. Election administrators across the country faced unprecedented challenges in 2020, but we continue to fight for democracy as we gear up for another presidential election year. Kudos to all municipal clerks and election officials for persevering through these tough times. I am beyond blessed to have a great team by my side. Their hard work and dedication have been crucial to our success, and I appreciate them so much. And from my own experience as a candidate for office that lost by 12 votes my first time running, and I remember some of those election judges telling me how close it was. Could have been so easy for them to make those votes disappear, especially since the incumbent had announced he wasn't running, but his name was on the ballot. And because of Wisconsin law, you can't take a name off a ballot. And so, but the integrity of the process came first. And again, you could have said, hey, no harm, no foul, but no, it's every vote counts. And I witnessed that firsthand. So with this next election coming up on Tuesday, April 2nd, the polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So if you're like my wife and you want to vote on site in person. You have from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Find out where your polling place is. And you should have received something in the mail if it did change. There were a few polling places that changed. You can also vote absentee. If you're very busy, like many of us, you can request an absentee ballot be mailed to you. The deadline to request is March 28th, so 5 days away. Please note that absentee ballot applications must be renewed every calendar year, if not on the permanent list due to age, illness, or disability. There's also in-person absentee voting, which I've taken advantage of, and it's worked really well. So if you're like me and you don't like to wait in long lines, you can vote. It started this week, and then it goes from Monday, March 25th through Thursday, March 28th, 8 to 4:30 p.m. That's Monday through Thursday next week, 8 to 4:30. And then on Friday, March 29th, it goes from 8 to 5. So the polling places will be open, City Hall will be open an extra half hour for you to cast your vote if you're not able to make it on Tuesday, April 2nd. So a lot of opportunities to make your vote count. Please work on a plan. And any advice, give me a shout here or call us here at Walk Radio. We're taking your calls. 414-441-2941. We are so live and local. We even have a local number, so keep that in mind. Anyway, back with my guest here, Colleen Kubiak, social media design extraordinaire, and the traveling chiropractor, Dr. Daytona Crebo. So, do you ever get you've seen the Hangover movies, right?
Oh yeah.
They tell the dentist he's not a real doctor. Do you get that from any of your friends? Any kind of
friends? Sister-in-law for sure. That was one of the first things she said to me. Yeah, Colleen knows exactly which sister-in-law I'm talking about.
Is that right?
Yeah. First thing she says is, "Do you actually call yourself a real doctor?" I'm like, I don't call myself a medical doctor, but I have a doctorate. It'd be similar to someone with like a PhD calling themselves a doctor, right? It's more of the schooling and aspect.
You earned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, no, I'll never claim to be a medical doctor and try and give you prescription meds or anything like that. That is a big no-no.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And just like with an academician that's earned his or her PhD. So they can't prescribe medicine, but they're certainly doctors.
Yeah.
So fantastic. Mm-hmm. What are some of the more common issues your clients run into that they're going to for help?
For sure. So some of the biggest ones are neck pain, upper back pain, and stiffness with a lot of computer work. Desk workers quite often leads to tension headaches as they're sitting there staring at computer screens. Mm-hmm. With more of the laborers, it's a lot more of low back pain. But what a lot of people don't know is chiropractors actually work a lot with extremities, right? So arms. I've helped Colleen's husband with his throwing shoulder. So
nice. Repetitive
motion.
Is he a pitcher or quarterback?
He does a little bit of football, a little bit of baseball, but yes, pitcher.
Yeah.
All right. Righty or lefty?
Lefty.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Lefties unite.
Oh, yeah. They've tried to recruit me to come out to their Saturday morning football games.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Do they play tackle or touch?
Touch. Touch football. It's like 25 years running. My dad started the league, and then now Ethan, my husband, is a part of it. My brother.
So it's a league.
Everyone.
It's not just pickup football.
Well, it's a league. They there's some documents that I've written up, and they have some jerseys, but really it's just a bunch of old guys that like to go play football together on Saturday mornings. Wow. It's a beautiful thing.
Sure. And what time do they meet? Maybe I could come after the show if they need an extra.
I think usually 9 a.m.
So I'd be a few minutes late. They could put me in the second half.
Sure, yeah.
So, that's great. It's good to hear that people are still knocking around.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. They were even out when we got that, 12 inches of snow in the middle of the winter. They were out there running. So I definitely helped take care of a couple of them after that one.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet. That's got to be, you could be a sponsor for one of the teams. That would be a good.
They just need you on the sidelines, honestly.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. I won't be out there in that snow, though. When it's nicer out, I'll be out there.
Sure.
Yeah, I was just reminded of something. The previous lead and song was The World is Waiting for the Sunrise by Les Paul. And we mentioned sponsorship, and I wanted to give a big shout out to the Club 400. It's a new sponsor for I've been listening to some of the ads, and it's great because they talk about the history. That place was bought by Les Paul. He bought it for his father and his brother to run, and that's where Les Paul and Mary Ford had performed some of their first great hits, and just great history. And it's neat that they're sharing in that experience with WAUK Radio, and they're part of that rich history. And we have to. I got to meet Caesar for the first time, one of the owners, about a month ago or so, and so I look forward to having him on the show too. And I'm hearing about so many great local businesses. There's been a great sales team put together in the last few months under the leadership of Chris Moreau, our vice president of sales for Civic Media, and so it's really exciting for me as someone that's lived here, Waukesha, to learn about some of these new businesses, and getting their name out there and helping them tell their story here in Civic Media. So, but the newest story, these young entrepreneurs living their best lives, don't necessarily have a boss, except for maybe the person they're married to.
Yeah.
But so we were talking about Daytona was helping Colleen's husband out with his throwing arm.
Mm-hmm.
So any other, or actually, no, let's switch gears with Colleen, with your clients. What are some of their aches, pains, and desires that you have to be the doctor for?
Sure. The biggest thing that we are helping people with is social media is a beast, and it makes people uncomfortable and nervous to get on there and to show their face on a regular basis. And it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it is a necessary evil. I mean, people are treating social media like a search engine.
Right.
And if you're not on social media or your business isn't showing up, a lot of times that's an immediate write-off. So just helping people, one, feel comfortable in front of the camera, but two, getting to almost brag for them, make them look really good online, and they don't have to worry about, being the ones to talk highly about themselves. Which they deserve. These are really fantastic, wonderful business owners, but they're business owners because their strength is serving their client and showing up for them, whether it's creating amazing bouquets or putting together an amazing collection of wedding dresses. It's not taking photos and taking cute reels and posting them online in a way that's going to reach their client effectively. So we can take that on.
That's fantastic. What have been some of your most fun experiences so far?
Oh, that's hard. One of our favorite and biggest clients is a wedding boutique in downtown Milwaukee, and they are just, we work with them on a monthly basis with both their boutiques, and I mean, just getting to go play dress up every month. Right. How can a girl complain about that? So that's a blast. Another great project we've been able to work on is with a florist, opening a new flower shop. They're a luxury florist, and getting to kind of go with them through the process of from the space being bought and being nothing and transforming it into something really stunning and beautiful, almost as beautiful as their floral arrangements. But those have been two of our recent projects that have just been really fun for me.
Neat. That's right. And do you have bandwidth for more customers, more clients?
Always. Yeah. I mean,
Sounds
the
great.
goal is always growing and scaling. So we love working with new clients, keeps things fresh, and honestly helps with work with other clients because our brains are going,
Sure.
keeping things fresh and fun.
Sure. So, and we're going to get back to you on this with a long-term plan, but let's switch to Daytona. Do you have like a 5 or 10-year plan? Do you see yourself having a bricks and mortar shop, or do you want to continue doing the mobile
so
house calls?
I'll always have the mobile side of things because I definitely think it's a growing area of need for people. As we continue to grow, time becomes a bigger constraint. Sometimes time is a bigger constraint than money,
Sure.
especially for a lot of entrepreneurs who are go, go, go all the time. But I would eventually like to have a brick and mortar, a place to actually allow people to come to me, because I do want to create a full community with it. I feel a huge aspect of health that is missing recently has been a sense of community. You see that a lot with people being locked indoors during COVID, is we weren't getting that face-to-face interaction.
Right.
And as humans, we're designed to interact with one another.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned people having issues because they're sitting in front of their laptop all day. And I remember when I was, when I first became alderman, Chris Pofall, or Poe, the director of IT, was giving me his orientation, and he was explaining that he has those standing desks, which I have with one of my clients, and they're great. And he said, sitting is the new smoking.
Yeah.
And like the conference room that they had in their old, this was back in the old city hall, that was where they do their morning exercise. They don't have sitting meetings anymore. They have standing meetings or jogging meetings. But not everybody is adapting that model that Chris has for the IT department at City Waukesha.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's things you can do while you're just sitting at your desk. You don't necessarily need to be standing to combat it. It's more just the sitting still in one position that's killing a lot of people.
Yeah.
You could just do calf raises sitting and get those muscles moving, keep that blood pumping. That alone has been shown to lower blood sugar.
Sure.
I've done a lot of research into blood sugar because of my diabetes, but that is something that's plaguing our society as a whole right now. So it could benefit just about everyone. And just changing your posture every few, I say few, but probably every like half hour, 45 minutes is good as well.
You got me doing it right now.
I know. That's one of my favorite things. You saw one of my recent posts and videos. It's like, I'm a chiropractor. Of course, when I tell people they change their posture.
Yep. I love it. Now, I had a coworker that was a dancer, and she used to say, stand up, like stand straight. And she's like, you just grew like 1.5 inches. And so it's like, 'cause people slouch a lot. And so those are some good habits to develop. So, but we have so much more to cover up, more city news. And we're also taking your calls here, 414-441-2941. And on this beautiful Saturday morning with Dr. Daytona Kribo and Colleen Kubiak, the creative one, here on This Week in Waukesha.
Might say that I should strive for more, but I'm so happy I can see the fine things happening here today. A show of strength with your boys brigade. I'm so happy and you're so kind. You want more money, of course I don't mind. To my nuclear textbooks for atomic crimes, and the public gets what the public wants. But I want nothing, society's got. I'm going underground, What if the brass bands play up, start to pound, going underground.
We're going underground here on This Week in Waukesha with your host, Don Brown, and Anastasia on the board. And we're also going Unlocked. That's right, October 12th and the 13th. Waukesha Unlocked returns. And I mention this now because there is a call for site hosts. For those of you who missed it, Waukesha Unlocked was intended as a one-off during the sesquicentennial celebrations back in 2021. And it was so well received that people had reached out to the city and said, we want more. Let's do it every year. And well, they tried it again the second year, and they said, well, let's make this an every other year thing, because from a programming and staffing point of view, it is a lot. But it is back. And Walk Radio, WAUK Radio participated last time, had a lot of fun. And we filled out our application this week, so we're in. So if your business or organization, that includes you, Daytona or Colleen, if you'd like to participate in Waukesha Unlocked on October 12th and 13th, sign up now. The deadline to register is April 1st. Participation in the event is free. And during Waukesha Unlocked, the community has the opportunity to explore all the open doors and learn more about the businesses, the organizations, and the churches in our community. So be sure to be a part of it. That's a lot of fun. I got to participate the first year as a walker, as a visitor. Mm-hmm. And I went to visit where my wife works at La Casa de Esperanza during the tour. There's a gallery, an art gallery in the basement, and a really cool painting of Cesar Chavez, the legendary labor activist who was involved in a labor strike, a farm worker strike in Wautoma, Wisconsin, here in Wisconsin. It was a really cool painting. And when you think of Cesar Chavez, you think most of that work was being done in California, but he traveled, and there were issues in Wisconsin that he was here to help champion. And so just a great piece of Wisconsin history that I would not have otherwise known had I not participated in Waukesha Unlocked. And I know people that lived here all their lives, they got to tour the Masonic Temple, and excuse me here. So take advantage of that, especially if you have a unique property, a historic property. Another great opportunity for people to connect. So be sure to check that out. So now I know you guys don't have bricks and mortar operations.
Yeah, I was just saying, as a mobile business, I'd be inviting everyone into my home.
Yeah, same.
I love inviting people over, but I don't know.
Yeah, call one of your favorite clients. Hey, guess what? I signed you up for Waukesha Unlocked. You know,
There we go.
we're gonna show you. Everyone's gonna come in and watch our procedure. You know, what do you think of that? So can you have some cookies ready? So I'm sure that'd be a big hit. So
They love that.
yeah, is there like a studio that you work with, Colleen, or is it just where you go on site to a client's location and
A lot
make
of it
the
is
magic
on
happen?
site. Yeah, so we're going into the businesses themselves, whether it's a boutique or flower shop or office, and shooting video and photo content there. A lot of times we'll also just go down into the third ward or on the streets of Waukesha, or for Daytona's purposes, to someone's home. So we really want to capture people working
Sure.
in the environment they're working in. We do use studios on a regular basis too, more for traditional headshots or for more of that content creation. If we want to just like make something a little more niche for social media or for ourselves, we're using a lot of studios
Sure.
for that too. But it's a little bit of
Okay.
everything.
Yeah. So yeah, everyone starts out probably doing their own social media for their business,
Hmm.
and they're devoting either too much time to it or not enough time. When do they realize they need to call on you? What's that?
I think when I mean, it's the first thing that a business owner should delegate, honestly. And being a small business owner, I know how quickly you hit capacity. So a lot of times people either just are seeing no results whatsoever, but everyone knows you have to be investing in some kind of social media. So whether they're investing time or money, one of those is a little more valuable to you.
Right.
And you just have to decide which one when it comes to social media.
Sure. And for a lot of your clients, is it based like number of likes, or
It's
are there
conversion to sales.
okay.
So yeah, I encourage people not to really look at likes, not to look at their follower count, because you could have 6,000 followers and
Wouldn't mean
none
it,
of them
yeah.
are purchasing from you. But
Yep.
if you have 6 that are, then great, the 6 are better. So it's really looking at what those click-through rates are to websites, or for some people, it's just asking people where they heard of them. And if it ends up being Instagram or Facebook or whatever that is,
Sure.
then great, we're doing our job. But figuring out a different way to track those for every business, an effective way to do that, is really important.
And that's something you offer then, or that's something that's probably it's contingent to your success.
Yeah, absolutely. We try to regularly talk to all of our clients about what they're seeing on their end of things, what we're seeing, and making sure those are
Sure.
lining up and making the money.
Sure. That's exciting.
Mhm.
Now, because you said also what you're doing is copywriting.
Yeah,
So, and because I know it's a different art form, because I write myself.
yeah, absolutely.
You can write a blog, but when you're trying to like get a lot of like unique selling points and like, what is it, 270 characters or less
Yeah.
or whatever, depending on the social media,
Hmm.
what sets you apart, or what, how do you do that?
It changes every week. Honestly, it's really keeping up on what the social media platform wants, and then also what their target audience wants. So Instagram, for a long time, writing longer captions and having a lot of information in there was what people wanted, and directing them to that caption. And now it's kind of like people don't want that. They want some educational content, but they want it easier
Sure.
in short form video rather than reading. So it's following those trends and knowing those for our clients, so they aren't having to go in and figure it out for themselves.
Sounds great. So, and are you employing some with these tactics in your social media, Daytona, do you feel?
Yeah, I'm trying to, for sure. The problem I've been running into is similar to what Colleen already said, of time versus money, right?
Mhm.
As the new entrepreneur with our business starting in January, it's already starting to become a lot. And I don't know if she was purposely looking
no.
at me with that.
Sure.
Trying to get me to sign up for her services. But yeah, that's really what it is we see way more people actually watching our videos and saying they've heard of us when it's a like 15-second video, shows a little bit of personality, teach maybe a little bit, but it's really building that trust and showing some personality in short
Sure.
video form.
Sure.
Yep.
But you don't do like one call, that's all, right? That's been taken. That's probably copyrighted.
Yeah, if we're talking copyright, I don't need to be in any trouble right now. I can't
Sure.
afford a lawsuit.
Sure. Sounds good. Well, we're going to talk more about these social media strategies that these entrepreneurs use for the chiropractic practice. And I imagine you have to do some for your own business too.
I do. Yeah, honestly,
great.
I am my hardest client because, like I said, it's way easier to delegate that task
Yep.
and have someone else brag about you online. So, luckily, my
Sounds
business
good.
partner and I each take on a
All
little
right.
bit of that.
More to unpack as the second hour This Week in Waukesha on WAUK, 540 AM, 101.1 FM, The Shaw.
I'm going underground.
Are you ready? March 23rd, 2024. Can you keep the song going, Anya?
Well, I'm coming face to face with my
If it's 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, it's still time for This Week in Waukesha. And my guests, Daytona Crebo and Colleen Kubiak, are going to help me out with the chorus line here to my walkout song, Give It Up by Hot House Flowers. And remember, it's give it up, share it out, help who you can, talk about it, talk about it. Doesn't get better than live and local here in the Shaw. Here it comes. And Anya, you can help too. All right, here it comes. Ready? Give it up. Share it out. Share it out. Help who you can. Help who you can. Talk about it. Talk about it. Hey, great job. And we are talking about it here on this beautiful Saturday morning. Boy, what a difference from yesterday morning. It was a beautiful snowfall, but it was snowfall nonetheless after so many weeks of gorgeous weather. Again, I'm your host, Don Brown, with my good friend Anya helping out here on the board. And we are live and local from the office of former Alderman Don Paul Brown here in the WAUK studios, right around the corner from Theodore Yeomans Park, where, especially in this Women's History Month, we are proud to honor our suffragette heritage here in the Shaw. So again, as I said in the first hour, parents, teachers, students of life, do what you can to learn about Theodore Yeomans and her incredible legacy that helped our nation ratify the 19th Amendment. And Wisconsin was the first to do that, thanks to her. And honor this legacy further by making your vote count on either on April 2nd or during this week. We can go down to City Hall anytime between 8 and 4:30 Monday through Thursday, cast your vote, or on Friday until 5 p.m. To do that. And you can sign up for absentee voting by March 28th as well. So many options. Please make a plan. Make your vote count. And remember, to learn more about the candidates, go to my podcast page, either through WAUKradio.com or civicmedia.us, and check out the last two episodes if you happen to miss them. I had last week, it was the incumbents, Dr. Kelly Piazak and Anthony Zenobia. And the week before, it was the contending candidates, Angelique Byrne and Stephanie Fidlin. So be sure to check those episodes out to learn more about the candidates for the school board. So, and I'm honored to have back here in the second hour my guest, Dr. Daytona Crebo, traveling chiropractor and social media entrepreneur, self-employed since her senior year of high school, Colleen Kubiak.
Mm-hmm.
So, and as we mentioned in the first hour, Daytona's new to Waukesha. Mm-hmm. Colleen grew up in the area, came to high school at Waukesha West, and both have chosen to live here with their spouses and their young children, and they're really enjoying life here. That's fair to say.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely, yeah. We love Waukesha.
Yeah. And a question I raised earlier, and I guess now's a good time to ask is, we want to know, and we want to hear from you too. We're taking your calls, 414-441-2941. What does radio mean to you? And Daytona, you made a good point earlier in the show that when you came to town, you wanted to learn a little bit more. How'd you hear about my show?
Google, to be completely honest. We said, what's a local Waukesha station? Because we wanted to learn about the community as a whole and what's going on, right? I mean,
Okay.
I knew of Friday Night Lives just from walking downtown. So, like, what other activities are there? And if you listeners have suggestions for me as someone new to the area, please call in and let me know, because I'm always wanting to get out and enjoy the community. But radio as a whole has changed over the years for me. Growing up, it was going to soccer practices, listening to my mom and dad's favorite stations, and just kind of singing as a family. And then it was high school, like basketball, soccer, bus trips of everyone like, oh yeah, this song's way overplayed now, but we love it, right?
Yeah.
And everyone's singing to songs that otherwise you might not bond with someone else growing up. But since then, I don't know if it's because I'm trying to always learn, but it's a lot more of talking, hearing about community, learning about what's going on and all that.
Sure. Wait, and it was always those corny local radio jingles, like the ads, like the jingles, like that you still can't get out of your head years later.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Earworms.
my dad was a general manager for the largest Chevy dealer in our hometown, and their ad used to say, Vernon Chevrolet, just a stone's throw away. And then you'd hear the broken glass sound. And you'd hear like a provocative woman's voice going, I wish you wouldn't do that. You know, and I was like, that one's never gotten out of my head. But yeah, there's so many great, as well as some of the different like radio promotions too.
For sure.
So like there was a great DJ back home named Danny Neverth, and his little promo show would be, Danny moves my fanny in the morning. Boom, boom. Danny.
Where do they come up with these things?
Well, and the funny thing was they had there was a famous British actor in town. I'm trying to think who it was. It'll come to me, but fanny has a different meaning in the English slang, a very different meaning. And he couldn't, because they asked him to read the lines on the radio, like, yeah, Danny moves. This is how Danny moves, and he almost wouldn't do it until someone explained, well, here it has a different context, but
context is everything
so
there.
much. Yep. So, but for me too, it's also been about just the nuggets of information that you wouldn't necessarily get on television or on traditional news outlets. I know I might get in trouble with Civic Media here, but I used to love when Joy Cardine was on the NPR affiliate in Madison. That was a great show. I don't know if Anya, did you ever listen to Joy Cardine when she was on?
The name is I was a big NPR fan, but the name isn't familiar to me now.
She was a radio. She retired like maybe 10 or 12 years ago, and I wish I could remember the name of the show. But it was like a 6 to 8 show, and she always had the best guests, and she always had like just great nuggets of Wisconsin life. Again, that you wouldn't have seen perhaps in the newspaper or on television, but in radio for that, especially when you're in your car and that listening. It was always very, very intriguing, entertaining stuff, and things that would inspire you to want to learn more. So
yeah, and I love that it's local, right?
Yeah,
it's a certain radius around this area, and then it's not nationwide like you would see on most news programs.
Sure. And so a good example is if you have confidential papers to discard, the city of Waukesha will be hosting the next paper shredding event on March 30th from 9 to 11. The event is held at the drop-off center. Enter at 600 Century Drive. There will be a paper shredding company on site to collect and shred residential materials, which will then be properly recycled. Only papers will be accepted. No digital media, plastics, or other material may be included. The cost is $5 for up to 3 bankers boxes of material. That's an interesting expression. I don't know what that is. The limit is 12 banker boxes per vehicle at a cost of $20. The event is cash only. So keep that in mind for any paper destruction that you want. So again, something you wouldn't necessarily find in other forms of media. Colleen, with your work with social media, do you find there are opportunities to interface with radio, like taking a radio show interview and putting it on one of the outlets?
Yeah, absolutely. Every once in a while, not as often anymore. Earlier in my career, doing press releases for businesses, whether they're opening something new or having a cool event or something like that. And I mean, radio is just, there's a little bit more heart behind it. And I think people hearing that voice behind a business is so powerful.
Yep.
So it was definitely something we encouraged a lot of clients to do.
Terrific. I was going to ask you too earlier, how do you have a social media campaign for your business, or is it kind of like the cobbler's kids having no shoes?
Oh, that is so real. Right now we're kind of in an unexpected busy season. So we are 100% focused on clients right now. But for us, it's keeping a little bit of humor and personality going up constantly and consistency. So one, highlighting clients here and there, and then two, getting some short form videos out there. It's just sticking to that consistency at the moment. And then going into summer now we'll be aiming at. We'll see what's next.
Love it. And we obviously our focus here is very local, but I guess I do have to take a quick pause because I guess one of the big global news breaking stories was, of course, what happened with Kate Middleton when it was finally revealed that she was diagnosed with cancer. And obviously, our hearts go out to her and their family. I mean, nobody should have to suffer through that. But you had made a comment about the specific diagnosis and the how popular it's become, or how common, I should say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And what was it again? The specific
the colorectal cancer. So
Okay.
screenings, especially 40 plus. Like I said, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm
Right.
definitely not doing these screenings, but all aspects of health are important. It's the third leading
Wow.
diagnosis for cancer and second leading cause of cancer death. I believe those are statistics.
Okay.
Like I said, definitely not an expert. It's just
Sure.
one of those things I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Where during my initial intake, I'll ask patients, like, hey, have you had your checkups? Are you up to date on your screenings? Because we definitely don't want those things to go undetected.
Appreciate that. And unfortunately, we know, we have had, we've heard a lot about this, about like families and kids and other, and parents being affected with cancer and other diseases. We did a lot of coverage on Waukesha firefighter Mark Schrader and the fundraising efforts for his daughter Mary, who's battling leukemia, a diagnosis that was recent as of last Thanksgiving. And so it's really one of these things that it affects the whole community. And so for me, another great advantage of radio is that you can, a global issue that affects a celebrity, and you can kind of bring it to a local level. Like, what does this mean to us?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's certainly, unfortunately, too many stories of people we love, dealing with things like cancer. But the good news, because the research has come so far too, is that we're also hearing about more positive outcomes. So more on that. So, and speaking of positive outcomes, how's business been lately for you both?
So mine is so new that we're still just trying to get the word out about what truly mobile chiropractic is. But things have been picking up and feeling like we're at a good spot and a little bit of a rhythm of actually creating the content, getting out in the community and meeting people. So things have been pretty good in that aspect.
Things have been great in my business because Daytona is visiting regularly, adjusting my back from all my slouching over my computer because we are in this busy season. It's been wonderful. We've brought on a few new clients and are getting to do some exciting projects. So it's been great. It's an exciting time of life and business.
Sounds great. Well, we're going to learn more about these unique entrepreneurs and their unique small businesses. Plus, we're going to talk about National Reading Month, a civic media contest where you can win a trip to Chula Vista in the Dells, and a final shout out on Irish American History Month too, and so much more to unpack here on This Week in Waukesha on WAUK 540 AM, 101.1 FM, The Shaw. And don't forget to download the Civic Media app if you haven't already. Okay, here we go. One more time.
As long as you know.
Worthington, Minnesota. It's worth a look.
You're listening to The Shaw, WAUK, Waukesha's home for Matt and Aaron on air.
I will stroll the merry way and jump the hedges first. Drink the clear, clean water for to quench my thirst.
And I will watch the ferry boats and they'll get high.
Hey, you're listening to This Week in Waukesha. And it is, and I'm your host, Don Brown, joined by Anya on the board, and my special guest, Dr. Daytona Kribo, and the doctor of social media, Colleen Kubiak.
Getting upgraded
That's
every
a
time.
new one, and I will take it.
All right. And that song you heard is my favorite cover. It's a cover of Van Morrison's "Sweet Thing" by the Waterboys from the Fisherman's Blues albums, one of the greatest albums of all time. And I love that song. I could listen to it all day. And I compared to other Irish Americans, I celebrate St. Patrick's Day a very different way. You won't see me getting ripped at the bars or doing all the Main Street stuff, if you will. I had an opportunity to watch a movie that actually included a friend of mine in it. It was called The Job of Songs. And Anya, I know, a huge movie buff. I definitely encourage you to check this out. I bought it on Amazon. So yeah, honey, if you're listening, my wife, if you see that bill for $12.99 for my Amazon, that's me. But it takes place in a coastal village in the west of Ireland, in County Clare. It's called Doolin, not far down the road from where my father's parents came from. And there was a pub there. There's a great traditional Irish music tradition that not only has included the locals, but have drawn others from around the country and around the world to participate. And one of them is a good friend of mine I met during my Chicago days named Owen O'Neill, who's he's interviewed in it, and he has his own radio show that focuses on Irish music on Clare FM, if you happen to be in Ireland. And I want to work to have Owen on my show and then me on his show. Well, he's a great musician and a great, shall we say, a curator of the Irish music tradition. And so he's included in this movie along with a famous Irish musician named Luca Bloom, younger brother of Christy Moore. And he's lived in Doolin like the past 30 years. And it's a must-see if you're serious about Irish culture and Irish music. And you just love music in general. And it surprising to me is towards the end, I did a deeper dive into alcoholism and depression that affects many of us Irish. And sometimes the solitude of that Irish music culture, that music, when you're a musician, there is kind of like any artist, there is kind of that periods of loneliness or isolation in your life, but yet you come to play it and you're part of this like larger community. And so just a lot of really interesting themes at once. And it was really well done. And so I highly encourage you to check that out. So, and we are back with my guest, Dr. Daytona Kribo.
Well, hello.
And the doctor of social media, Colleen Kubiak.
Hello.
So, and also here in the office of former Alderman Don Paul Brown, one of our resident councils has arrived, James Santel. Really glad to see him as always, and he's getting ready for his show that comes on at 9 o'clock at the end of this one. I highly encourage you to check it out, capturing the most important legal issues of the day. So always great to have Jim here in residence. So, and as young parents, this will interest you. The city has an event coming on Parks and Rec called How to Be a Bigger Bunny on Saturday, April 6th. Join the city for a family adventure walk with fun activity stations based on the book, How to Be a Bigger Bunny. Every family will get a copy of the book as they participate in rock climbing, pirate boat race with a take-home boat, bunny air decorating, designing a superhero cape, and more family fun. The event is a fundraiser for the Waukesha Parks Recreation and Forestry Financial Assistance Fund, and I couldn't think of many better funds to support than that. They do great work, and what a great idea for a fundraiser, too. And it is also National Reading Month, and so my questions for my guest is, what are you reading lately, and what did you read in your youth that really inspired you to read more? Colleen.
I was indoctrinated to reading very young by my family. Big readers at every moment of every day. Chronicles of Narnia was a big one. I think that was like
last
the first.
Week talked about that too.
Yeah, that was like the first big hook. I had someone ask me what my favorite childhood memory was yesterday, and it was like curling up in bed with my brother, and my dad would sit and read to us from the collector's edition of all of the Narnia books. So love that.
Yeah,
terrific.
Yeah, so I wasn't as big of a reader and indoctrinated in it as much. But I did actually read Chronicles of Narnia growing up as well. There's the fun debate of what's the first book in that series.
Sure, yeah.
Back and forth. But then, I mean, of a 90s kid, it's Harry Potter, right? And then I was like right on the cusp of like Percy Jackson, learning a little bit about like Greek mythology.
Nice.
So that one was a lot of fun.
Sure. Terrific. Yeah, it's for me, I didn't get indoctrinated into Chronicles of Narnia until I was a parent when we had it around the house. But I wanted to teach my kids to read, especially for my oldest son, for my my first marriage. I wanted that to really be active in his life, and we read those books together. And he told me years later, like when he was in a class, that he was either bored with the subject matter or he was sad or something, and he looked out the window and he started imagining scenes from Chronicles of Narnia. He was kind of like living through them and creating his own story. And I'm like, not that I encourage people to drift while they're in kids, but at least I think he had a creative mechanism for dealing with issues that he was having and feeding that creative mind. And so I can really appreciate that.
Absolutely. That's some healthy escapism right
Yeah,
there.
that's the exact word
Yeah.
I was going to use, escapism, right? That's why you should find what brings you joy and helps you get away from the stress of day to day, whether it's reading's a great one.
I thought of another book too. And Anya, if you want to be included in this, we could put you on the spot if there's a favorite book that you had as a youth.
A favorite book? Oh, geez. I was a big Percy Jackson fan, so
we
I
go.
guess I will go with that. And of those
Classic.
books, I'll go with the first one because that's the one where they go on their little trip across America. They stop
Nice.
in Vegas and Nashville and all these places. So I guess I'll go with that's a favorite from my youth.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
That's terrific. I like that one. I'm going to move up a few years, like middle school years, and I actually pulled a book off the shelf. I didn't have to read it for school, but I think I ended up writing a paper about it. It was Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Did you?
Mhm.
Yep.
What a great
Read
and
that one.
I had to read it again in 10th grade, and it didn't dawn on me as a 7th grader when I first read it, but that Lenny actually was somebody that was dealing with developmental disabilities. You just saw it in the first book, well, he's just slow or he's not, but there was much more to that story than one would think. And just these universal themes of like friendship and especially during the Depression. And while none of us lived through the Great Depression, there are periods in our lives where we really have to rely on each other and the bonds that can form. And I just thought that was a wonderful portrait and a great book for young readers. And it's not a very long book too for slow readers like me too. That is a great one. So, but as a slow reader, I didn't catch on to all the great books until I was like college age or past college. But then I did. I read them like in a day, like To Kill a Mockingbird and The Water is Wide, and so much more to talk about here on This Week in Waukesha as we continue with my two doctors, Colleen Kubiak and Dr. Daytona Crebo here on This Week in Waukesha, WUK. I'm dynamite and I don't know why.
And you will take me warm your arms again. And I will not remember that I ever felt the pain. And I will walk and talk. God is all wet with rain. And never get so.
I am woman, hear me roar, in numbers too big to ignore. And I know too much to go back and pretend. 'Cause I've heard it all before, and I've been down there on the floor. No one's ever gonna keep me down again. Whoa, yes, I'm wise, but it's wisdom born of pain. Yes, I paid the price, but look how much I gained. If I have to, I can do anything. I am strong. I am invincible.
Hey, you're listening to This Week in Waukesha, and in
I am woman.
honor of Women's History Month, you're listening to I Am Woman by Helen Reddy. And I'm old enough to remember when that was a hit, when that first came out. And kind of just have very fond memories of my mother, who was the first woman in her family to finish college and led really a complete life as an educator, happily married for more than 65 years, raised 10 children. And I remember like her reaction whenever she'd hear that song on the radio, or songs by Carole King too, another great heroine in my opinion. Tapestry album probably remains like the greatest album of all time. And I think of my mother, and I think there was an article recently, and James Santel might remember, as a famous Supreme Court justice. I believe she might have been the first Supreme Court justice in Wisconsin history. And she was criticized for a picture like in a Sunday newspaper article, like it was the Madison newspaper or Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, where she was sitting in her home and around her coffee table. And a lot of a woman thought that was too domesticated. But she did it on purpose because she had said, a lot of times women are put in a box. Either you have to be that domesticated wife, parent, or you have to be this professional. And she said, well, I wanted to have it all. And why can't I? And so I always applauded that response. And to me, that's kind of how my mother was, the kind of life my mother had, where she got to have a career as an educator and as a mother of 10, God help her. And so, yeah, it's like I always get choked up when I hear Helen Reddy's I Am Woman. And you two probably aren't old enough, but if any fans of the series Family Ties or Michael J. Fox got his big break, he's his parents are kind of hippies. Dad worked for public radio, but he's the opposite. He's like a Reagan, Republican, and like would wear ties to school, like in high school. And he's dating a girl played by Courtney Cox. And she was very, very active in feminist movements, and he was trying to woo her. And next thing you know, he finds himself really engulfed or really embracing the women's movement. He gets arrested in this protest, and his father's reading the affidavit, and the statement said Michael J. Fox, Alex P. Keaton was making to the police, and he's like, "I am woman, hear me roar," and I still laugh at that. I think that was hilarious, especially if you understood this. The Michael J. Fox character, where he's like this big Reagan trickle-down economics guy. So, but anyway, well, I guess, Colleen, a full-time mother and also a full-time self-employed business owner.
Mm-hmm.
What does Women's History Month mean to you?
I mean, a million different things. Honestly, it means most of the time getting to hear awesome stuff like that. Like, do you know how encouraging it is to hear that a mother made it through one, working and having 10 children? Like, I can do it. I'll be okay. I'm in a really blessed position where I'm able to do this, and my husband and I think make a great team with parenting and stuff like that. But yeah, Women's History Month, it's just, I think, an excuse to share that experience.
Sure.
And it's been it's really cool just to hear all the stories.
Sure. And you're happily married, and your wife works, correct?
Oh, my wife is amazing. She does so much. I mean, she has full-time career job, has rental properties, full-time mom, has helped her brother with remodeling business, helps me with my business. Truthfully, I don't know how she does it all. She is amazing. Yeah, the best people in my life are truthfully women. Like,
sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I can vouch for that too. My wife, Melissa, is a very accomplished educator, more than 20 years in charter schools, and also very active in the community. She's president of the Waukesha South Boosters, and never misses any of our children's games or activities. And just, again, same thing. I don't know how she does it. So
It's incredible.
yeah, kudos to her. And hey, and for, I guess as a tribute to a woman, you could say, and really to everybody who loves Wisconsin and the Dells, Civic Media, our parent company, has this wonderful promotion called Ride into Spring. You text to win. It's a statewide contest. It started earlier this week, and it goes until March 29th. Listen each weekday at 7, 10, 1, and 3 for your chance to win an overnight stay at Chula Vista Resort in the Wisconsin Dells, and be entered to win one of 2 grand prizes that can include new bikes, outdoor patio furniture, a blender, and more. And so please, if you listen to your favorite shows, and if you haven't listened to our weekday shows, it's an incredible lineup. So be sure to tune those in. And again, using the Civic Media app, you don't have to have, although you can go to WAUKradio.com too, which is what I like to do, and give my phone a rest when I'm on site with a client or working from home. But I think that's one. When you look at any of those prizes, I think each one, I think it's fantastic. So be sure to take care of that. Ride into Spring. Listen each weekday at 7, 10, 1, and 3 for your chance to win an overnight stay at Chula Vista, and also be entered to win one of 2 grand prizes that include new bikes, outdoor patio furniture, a blender. I mean, even if you win a blender,
I'd take
bonus.
it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So great stuff. And I wanted to shout out to James Santel, who I mentioned earlier, here in residence at the office of former Alderman Don Paul Brown. He has again graced my guests with some delicious pastries. Can't wait to try them. And also, you'll notice when Jim starts his show, there's a new name. For a long time, we called it Morning Cannolis. Is now
That's for him to announce, mister.
Oh, no, he just gave me a little
Oh, he
note
did?
here. Yeah.
Oh, then go ahead.
So it's just a little teaser. He'll tell you more.
I was like, where are we
I love
going?
it.
Cut off.
Thanks. So great job, though, Anya. That was a good catch.
That was
Yes,
so
on
random.
But
it.
no, he on
Little
his
panic
legal
attack.
paper, mind you. Amicus, a law review with Jim Santel. So just don't be. You're not listening to the wrong show. You're listening to a new show, new and improved. So, but thank you, So be sure to check that out. And thanks again, Jim, to these delicious pastries. So, Now we want to talk. We talked a little bit about your business. What have we not covered so far about your business that's unique? Colleen, you want to go first?
Sure. What have we not covered that's unique? Oh my gosh, you should give me a warning on this one.
Sure. Well, we can move to Daytona if you need a moment.
No, he probably needs. Do you need a moment too?
I got a answer. Yeah.
Get after it.
Yeah. So, I mean, the big thing about running a new business is you don't know what you don't know. There's going to be 1,000 things that come up. But what really, I would say, makes me a little bit different than other chiropractors, other than just every aspect of health and bringing it all together with multiple different approaches, is I really do focus on the mental health side of things. I know you mentioned the movie talking about alcoholism
Sure.
and depression, and it's a real thing that everyone deals with. I've personally dealt with depression, like when my dad got sick and
Sure.
passed. So I really feel for my patients, and pain has a depressing effect on most people.
Good point.
So, yeah, connecting with my patients is huge, and that's probably my favorite part of my job is watching the sparkle just come back into people's eyes. They're like, I haven't had a headache in a week. And for some people, they deal with it daily, and that is just life-changing for them. To just see the energy and life come back to them is the most rewarding part of my job.
Yeah. And I guess you don't think of that chronic pain or aspects of issues of physical pain can eventually lead to your head.
Yeah, definitely. It's debilitating.
Well, I certainly don't want to follow that up. Because you're changing people's lives.
You are
I
too.
often am changing
You're
lives
helping
just
me
because
change lives.
Your clients have
Absolutely.
figurative headaches.
Yeah.
They're not getting their name out enough or not getting the brand.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, for so many people, it's that they've worked, so many years to build something really incredible. And then there's this roadblock, and it's just getting out there on social media and effectively marketing themselves. And we do that on many different levels, whether it's creating content and then handing it over to them to use as they see fit, whether it's like a month worth of posts or 3 months worth of posts, or jumping in and doing it all for them. We kind of do a little bit of everything. And it's really nice to be able to customize that to each person and get to see what their needs really are. And because we're a small business, we're able to, niche into exactly what they need.
Sure. Yeah. Now, I know I'm sure you've done a lot of work on the traditional outlet, the ones we're familiar with, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, X or Twitter, whatever we call it now. What's the most unique social media outlet that you've had to utilize for a client that you've recommended or that they needed?
Ooh, honestly,
tried it.
The vast majority of clients aren't interested in jumping into something new and unique. They want something proven that's, working for a lot of people. But that doesn't mean that I don't jump into new social media constantly just to, be on that cutting edge and learn it for them. And
Sure.
maybe it is the most effective new thing. But I'd say getting on TikTok really quickly was big. Luckily, it was mostly during the pandemic, so we all had a little extra scroll time.
Right.
But yeah, I think honestly our biggest unique offering was just jumping into short form videos super early and making that super easy and accessible for our clients. So,
Sure.
it's 15
Because there's so much you
second
can do with
clips.
video.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a huge barrier to entry because honestly, just turning that camera on your phone is
Yeah.
intimidating.
Yeah. And it's not cheap
Mm-hmm.
to produce it, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. It's effective to do it the way we do because it's, on a month-to-month basis, and we're building up this kind of queue of shots that we can use in a bunch of versatile ways, and then the client
You pay for a
too.
package then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, some people do. Some people do an alternate way where we're just specifically making a few reels for them. But the most effective way we do it is month to month, coming in, creating these things, and creating a bank of content for them to work with.
Okay. So it reminds me of a good question for Daytona too is, what do you take all types of health coverage?
So with being such a new business, we don't take insurance. We're still working on getting in with some.
Okay.
And if we started working with an individual business, because we do also in-office visits, we're trying to get into some local businesses that might need another thing to offer to employees as a
Nice. As a benefit, yeah.
Yeah, to keep them there, because
Sure.
I know a lot of business have been struggling with employee retention. So if I got in with a local business and say they use one specific health insurance, well, I'd put a lot more of my effort into moving things along with that health insurance to get them on board.
Terrific. Is that something too, as your business grows, though, you envision where you'll be able to, I guess,
For sure, yeah, because right now with the mobile side of things, insurance doesn't cover as much of me showing up to someone's house. They will cover the adjustment aspect of it, but it is a little bit cost effective to be in one local place. So once I have that brick and mortar, I will be able to take a lot more insurances.
Sounds terrific.
Yeah.
So, and now again, it's just your only employees are yourselves.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We have a few contractors, assistants that we work with that help us with client communication and stuff like that. But there's only 4 of us right now. But it's a beautiful, growing little team.
That's neat. And it's so, and I know in my own business too, it's so much more common in this gig economy where you've got teams of contractors.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's not easy to make it always, especially when you have contractors with very similar skill sets and how you differentiate.
Yeah.
And how you move. Yeah. So I know that's never easy, but it's also kind of exciting at the same time. If you can make it work, you're providing so many efficiencies for the client.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the hardest parts of the job, but also most rewarding is learning how to be a boss.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true. And do you find it hard being the boss of yourself? I know I do.
I think especially since having a baby, I've gotten into more of the less motivation and more just routine side of things where I've just got to do what I got to do.
Yeah.
Whereas before I was I could take a few hours off and go do this or this.
Sure.
So that's really made me streamline my life a little bit in beautiful ways.
Sure.
That I'm really happy for. But yeah, definitely that was a struggle, especially starting really young in high school. It was a little bit of a touch and go.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah. I mean, for me, thankfully, my wife is amazing. I said I'm the only employee, but she helps manage that.
That's great.
Keep me motivated too.
The conversation continues with our young entrepreneurs, Dr. Daytona Kribo and Colleen Kubiak here on This Week in Waukesha. And don't forget, the Waffles for Wishes starts in 10 minutes over at Carol's Stackner Ballroom.
I am woman, watch me grow, see me standing toe to toe as I spread my loving arms across the land. But I'm still an embryo with a long, long way to
Authentic and respectful civic dialogue.
The Shaw, WAUK, Waukesha's home for nightlife.
Revolution sounds whisper. Don't you know? We're talking about a revolution. It sounds like a whisper. While they're standing in the welfare lines, crying at the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment lines, sitting around.
You're listening to This Week in Waukesha here in this second hour. That's one of my favorite songs, Revolution by Tracy Chapman. I got to see her live years ago, and of course she played that song, and it's brilliant. And I guess a nice little ode to Women's History Month as well. And and I like to think there's another revolution going on, and I think Anya would agree, is the civic media revolution, where we're bringing live local news at the most local levels throughout the state. And again, another great reason to download the Civic Media app for those of us who like to travel this beautiful state, not just for our summer homes, but for our kids' events, sporting, musical, performing arts, other events around the state, visiting relatives, business, trade events. Having that Civic Media app allows you to engage with what's going on locally. And so I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have that on your smartphone. You're going to find sports, entertainment, weather, Civic Media's daily news roundup. The podcast gives you what you need to know in your community, from Racine to Hayward. Our news has you covered. So definitely check that out. And again, I'm really glad to have these guys. I've had so many guests on these past few months. People have a long history in Waukesha. Mayor Sean Riley was on again in this quarter and learned that the Riley families have lived in Waukesha for more than 100 years. In December, I had a young woman, Meredith Marks, a senior at Waukesha South, who's part of the SALT program there and the marching band. She's a third-generation Waukesha third generation Waukesha South too. So it was great to have some people. Now I know you went to high school here, Colleen, with Daytona is very new to the community. Your wife's from New Berlin. And, what has Waukesha life meant to you so far?
To me, it's a great mix of small town feel with the access of the city for things to do. And it just has a nice sense of community because it has this great downtown area and so many events going on.
Sure, absolutely. How about you, Colleen?
Yeah, I mean, it's ended up being just the family aspect and friends. I mean, it's the community here is we've never lived somewhere that we felt so so at home. It's a beautiful thing. And there's a little bit of nostalgia in there for me growing up here a little bit too. But yeah, there's no shortage of things to do, or especially with kids.
Sure. And how does it feel for you as a business, as a place to do business?
It's been awesome. I mean, we're a little bit of everywhere. We started off when I was living in Milwaukee, and living in Waukesha has, I feel like it almost like matured our business by moving here. I mean, there's a lot of wonderful established businesses. Not that there aren't in Milwaukee, but it's just that like a little bit of suburbs that gives it like the homey feel, and I love it.
Yeah, same here. Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, it's really just that sense of community. As I mentioned, once we have brick and mortar, we really want to continue that community feel with everything and all the local businesses around here.
Right.
I'm not a huge fan of driving down a street and only seeing franchises and corporations everywhere. I love the local business feel of a town.
I got to tell you, we got carry out from People's Park last night. My wife and I are both overcoming some bad.
So
yeah.
good.
And them, like Mainstream Grill, Magellan's, carry out's always ready in like less than 5 minutes. And you bring it home and it's still hot. The temperatures are right in the food. And,
that's unheard of. That's awesome.
And Fridays, People's Park has, in addition to the fish fry, they have a seafood soup. And last night it was a clam chowder, and it did not disappoint.
Nice.
We are regulars at El Sol. There's no keeping us from it.
Sure. Well, that's the thing is I forget that there's so many other places I don't get a chance to go to. And like I told everyone, I tried making Valentine's Day reservations in mid-January for Tufty's Table, and it was already booked.
Oh, I bet that place
is
delicious.
I saw Christina, the owner, at a city council meeting a few weeks back. I always felt bad I don't go there enough, but in my defense, whenever I go to to reserve a table, an open table, they're always booked like months in advance or weeks in advance, and you can't just walk in there either. So it's a great place. And so our wedding anniversary is in July, and they're not that far out in terms of the online reservation app. So I'm going to have to go in there in person and make sure we get, because that's where we usually go for our anniversary every year.
Yeah, that's a great choice.
So, yeah. And what a great problem to have too,
Oh,
and so, and as our city continues to grow, I'm really excited to see more great independent concepts blossoming up. And not just in the restaurant side, but what you guys are doing in your respective work.
Yeah, I love it.
So terrific. So in the 3 minutes we have left here, what is it you want our listeners to know about you as individuals and in your businesses that we haven't touched upon? Daytona.
So I would say the biggest thing I value is family, and I want to work with people who value family as well, right? As the mobile chiropractor, I am able to get you more time with your family and do what's really important to you. So you don't have to spend the 15 minutes to drive to an office and then 15 minutes home. You
get half an hour in a waiting room.
You get an extra half hour to an hour to be with your family and not leaving the comfort of your home.
Terrific. Colleen.
Yeah, along similar lines, but getting that extra time to do what you do best and serve your client. Taking social media off of a business owner's plate is, I think it's really important once your business is growing and you have money to invest in it. It's a beautiful thing to be able to get that time back and really serve people in a way that you're passionate and talented at doing. And we love taking that on for you.
I love it. Dr. Daytona Crebo, mobile chiropractor, and Doctor of Social Media, Colleen Kubiak of Kula Creative. It's really been an honor getting to know both of you better this morning, and I want to thank you also as listeners too for finding out the show and spreading the gospel. And March Madness continues even without the Badgers. Good luck to Marquette. Good luck to Pewaukee's Jack Golke for the Cinderella Oakland team, and also for Milan Momcilovic at Iowa State, a freshman. So a lot of great Wisconsin stories. And as a Spartan, too, remember Tom Izzo, the head coach, is from Iron Mountain, which to me, the UP belongs to Wisconsin. So you can root for my Spartans against North Carolina today at 4:30. So, hey, please remember, we got Waffles for Wishes over at Carroll University starting now. And enjoy this beautiful Saturday. And always remember, safety is everyone's responsibility. Next week, we've got Waukesha South Marching Band promoting the Badger Marching Band's visit on April 7th. And again, live your best life here in the Shaw. Thanks again for joining us. Thank you to Anya. James Santel is next. And see ya!